Here's another fancy video that tries to justify laws against abortion.
While many abortion choice advocates agree that the unborn are human, they deny that they are valuable human beings. In their eyes, this distinction justifies terminating the unborn. If the deciding factor comes down to value, we must try to understand how that importance is determined. Those who are pro-choice often use what's known as personhood language to express this view. They say that although the unborn may be human, it's not a person. To this, we ask a simple question: what's the difference between a human being and a human person?
It is not merely membership in the human species that matters. Suppose a gnat had the same faculties as you do. Would it still not qualify as a person merely because it isn't a member of the same species as you? That would be unjust discrimination.
After such a charged claim, this question deserves a thoughtful answer. Pro-choice advocates are saying that human beings can be killed with impunity because they're not persons. So we want to know, what monumental difference justifies killing a human being? When asked, pro-choice advocates typically cite one or more characteristics that they believe make a human being a person. These claims fall under 4 general categories that can be easily remembered in the acronym SLED: size, level of development, environment, and degree of dependency.
Yeah, most of these are silly. I've never heard these before. The idea that personhood depends on size, environment, or level of dependency is obvious nonsense. However, level of development I think is relevant in at least one specific sense. A fetus is not a person until it develops self-awareness. Any being, human or otherwise, which is able to understand its own selfhood, and more importantly to value it, is a person. Pro-choice people are generally far less opposed to killing a non-person than killing a person, because a non-person who cannot even understand that it exists is not having anything it values taken from it when it is killed.
The second characteristic is level of development. As we know, the unborn human is less developed than a born human being, both physically and mentally. A 4-year-old girl can't logically understand abstract concepts.
Whoa, wait a minute, we made a pretty big jump from an unborn human to a 4-year-old girl. There's a big difference there. And since when can a 4-year-old girl not understand abstract concepts? If a 4-year-old sees you give a gift to a sibling but nothing to her, she will quickly express her views on the abstract concept of fairness.
Her cognitive process is based on emotion, behavioral needs, and the concrete world around her. A more developed 14-year-old teenage girl can comprehend notions like love and justice, while also forming values based on them. But this doesn't mean we view the child as any less of a person.
I'm very skeptical that a 4-year-old can't understand the concept of love, and they certainly have some understanding of justice. But a sufficient criterion for personhood, at least in my opinion, is self-awareness, which a 4-year-old certainly has. One may point out that newborns don't have self-awareness, but we still consider killing them to be wrong. However, once a child is born, and it no longer requires forcing someone to give birth against their will in order to continue to survive, the fact that other people highly value that child makes killing it unacceptable.
Next, we have the human's environment. We can all agree that an unborn human's environment is much different than the world we live in every day. Does this difference of atmosphere somehow affect value? Can changing a human's location alter someone's status as a person? It sounds odd because it's not how we operate in our day-to-day. Where you are does not have a bearing on who you are as a human person. An astronaut who spacewalks in orbit is in a radically different environment than a person on Earth. Yet we don't deny the astronaut's personhood. Scuba divers who swim underwater and spelunkers who crawl through caves are equally as valuable as people who ride in hot air balloons. So why should we view the unborn inside the uterus in a different light? Changing environment doesn't change fundamental status. So how can a 7-inch journey through the birth canal magically transform a valueless human into a valuable person?
A fetus's location does not affect its personhood, but it does have relevance with respect to the net value of its life. Nobody has to be forced to give birth to an adult astronaut or an adult spelunker against one's will in order for them to continue to survive.
Finally, we reach the last and most commonly used feature for abortion advocates: degree of dependency. The unborn human is highly dependent upon the mother's body for nutrition and a nurturing environment. While true and essential, does this dependency make a human less of a person? Newborns and toddlers still very much need their parents to provide nourishment and protection. In some third world countries, children must be breastfed by their mothers because formula is not readily available. Can a mother rightfully kill her newborn son because he depends on her body for nutrition? If a toddler fell into a pool and an adult had to save him, would the toddler not be valuable because he couldn't survive on his own? Of course not. Unborn humans depend on their mothers in the same way.
No, they don't depend on them in the same way. A child that has been born does not require anyone to give birth to it against their will.
So we also shouldn't devalue them as persons. So what's the point of this SLED test? It clearly exposes the abortion advocate argument for what it really is: unjust discrimination. Pro-choice supporters deny that all human beings are valuable persons that deserve protection. Which ones don't qualify to matter? The ones that are too small, not developed enough, those that exist in a different environment and are too dependent on other people. On the other hand, the pro-life position is entirely inclusive.
No, it isn't. If personhood is contingent upon being a member of the human species, it would exclude non-humans from personhood. What if we discover technologically advanced aliens someday? Will they be persons or not? If not, then your standard of personhood is pointlessly discriminatory. If they do count as persons, then personhood isn't as simple as just being a member of the human species. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.